Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadhari Yasodhanandana Radhajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Radhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadhari Yasodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Brahmanandi. Jaya Vishnupada, Pramsa Prevraj, Kacharya Strang, Shishimad is Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupada, Pramsa Prevraj, Kacharya Shishimad, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki Jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. Go Brahmanandi. All glorious to the sum of devotees, glorious to the sum of devotees, all glorious to the sum of devotees, all glorious Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namne Namaste Sarvadevi Guru Manasya. So thank you for coming this evening. So we're reading Bhagavad Gita. This is the chapter 9th chapter, most confidential knowledge, and is text 26. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So here, Lord Kṛṣṇa says, patram, puṣpam, phalam, toyam, yome bhaktyā pranashyati. Ahaṁ bhakti-upahṛtam, aśnāmi prayatātmanaḥ. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. For the intelligent person, it is essential to be in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord in order to achieve a permanent, blissful abode for eternal happiness. The process of achieving such a marvelous result is very easy and can be attempted even by the poorest of the poor, without any kind of qualification. The only qualification required in this connection is to be a pure devotee of the Lord. It does not matter what one is or whether one is situated, where one is situated. The process is so easy that even a leaf or a little water or fruit can be offered to the Supreme Lord in genuine love, and the Lord will be pleased to accept it. No one, therefore, can be barred from Kṛṣṇa consciousness, because it is so easy and universal. Who is such a fool that he does not want to be Kṛṣṇa conscious? By this simple method, and thus attain the highest perfectional life of eternal bliss and knowledge. Kṛṣṇa wants only loving service and nothing more. Kṛṣṇa accepts even a little flower from his pure devotee. He does not want any kind of offering from a non-devotee. He is not in need of anything from anyone, because he is self-sufficient. He is not and yet he accepts the offering of his devotee in an exchange of love and affection. To develop Krishna consciousness is the highest perfection of life. Bhakti is mentioned twice in this verse in order to declare more emphatically that bhakti, or devotional service, is the only means to approach Krishna. No other condition, such as becoming a brahmana, a learned scholar, a very rich man, or great philosopher, can induce Krishna to accept some offering. Without the basic principles of bhakti, nothing can induce the Lord to agree to accept anything from anyone. Bhakti is never causal. The process is eternal. It is direct action in service to the absolute whole. Here, Lord Kṛṣṇa, having established that He is the only enjoyer, the primeval Lord, and the real object of all sacrificial offerings, reveals what type of sacrifices He desires to be offered. If one wishes to engage in devotional service to the Supreme in order to be purified and to reach the real goal of life, the transcendental loving service of God, then one should find out what the Lord desires of him. One who loves Krishna will give him whatever he wants, and he avoids offering anything which is undesirable or unasked. Thus, meat, fish, and eggs should not be offered to Krishna. If he desires such things as offerings, he would have said so. Instead, he clearly requests that a leaf, fruit, flower, and water be given to him. And he says of this offering, I will accept it. Therefore, we should understand that he will not accept meat, fish, and eggs. Vegetables, grains, fruits, milk, and water are the proper food for human being and are prescribed by Lord Kṛṣṇa himself. Whatever else we eat cannot be offered to him, since he will not accept us. Thus, we cannot be acting on the level of loving devotion if we offer such foods. In the 3rd chapter, verse 13, Sri Kṛṣṇa explains that only the remains of sacrifice are purified and fit for consumption for those who are seeking advancement in life and release from the clutches of material entanglement. Those who do not make an offering of their food, he says in the same verse, are eating only sin. In other words, their every mouthful is simply deepening their involvement in the complexities of material nature. But preparing nice, simple vegetable dishes, offering them before the picture of the deity of the Lord, Kṛṣṇa, and bowing down and praying for him to accept such a humble offering enables one to advance steadily in life, to purify the body, and to create fine brain tissues which will lead to clear thinking. Above all, the offering should be made with an attitude of love. Kṛṣṇa has no need of food, since he already possesses everything that be. Yet he will accept the offering of one who desires to please him in that way. The important element in preparation, in serving, and in offering is to act with love for Kṛṣṇa. The impersonalist philosophers who wish to maintain that the Absolute Truth is without senses cannot comprehend this verse of Bhagavad Gita. To them, it is either a metaphor or proof of the mundane character of Kṛṣṇa, the speaker of Bhagavad Gita. But in actuality, Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Godhead, has senses, and it is stated that his senses are interchangeable. In other words, one sense can perform the function of any other. This is what is meant. It means to say that Kṛṣṇa is absolute, lacking senses. He could hardly be considered full in all opulences. In the 7th chapter, Kṛṣṇa has explained that he impregnates the living entities into material nature. This is done by his looking upon material nature. And so, in this instance, Kṛṣṇa is hearing the devotee's words of love. In offering foodstuffs is wholly identical with his eating and actually tasting. This point should be emphasized. Because of his absolute position, his hearing is wholly identical with his eating and tasting. Only the devotee who accepts Kṛṣṇa as he describes himself without interpretation can understand that the Supreme Absolute Truth can eat food and enjoy it. Patram, puṣpam, phalam, toyam, bhaktyā prayacchati, ahaṁ bhakti-upahṛtam, aśnāmi prayatātmanaḥ. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or a water, I will accept it. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnana-jala-shalakaya Chakshurum-nitamina tasmai Shri-gurave namaha. So here, in this particular chapter, Kṛṣṇa becomes more personal in the sense that he's directing Arjuna, guiding him and telling him exactly, more specifically, what he enjoys, what he wants, what kind of offering, what kind of service should be rendered to him. A simple thing. Kṛṣṇa is not very demanding here. He's not saying you have to give me crores of rupees, or you have to build me some very opulent temple, or so forth and so on. He's making it very simple. A leaf, flower, fruit, or water. Anyone can offer these things. When Prabhupada was commenting on this verse, he was saying that in India, anywhere you go, you can easily get a flower. And you can go to anyone and pick a flower. But in New York, if you do this, the police will come and arrest you. Because people are not that inclined. If you step on someone's property, probably many of you have not come to America, but in America, people have little pee holes. They look through to see who's knocking at the door, and if they don't know the person, they won't answer. In India, if you come uninvited, they don't know you, oh, they open the door, please come in, take prasad. So, there's a big difference there. Of course, as mentioned here, and Srila Prabhupada mentions that twice this word bhakti, devotion, is emphasized in this particular verse. It has to be with love. And of course, love, what do we mean by that? Well, first of all, it means we have to accept Kṛṣṇa. We have to believe that Kṛṣṇa really exists. Mahatma Gandhi, he preached and read Bhagavad Gita for so long, but he said, I never believed in such a person as Kṛṣṇa ever existed. Dr. Radhakrishna was a big Pandit, Prime Minister of India, but his statement was, you have to go beyond Kṛṣṇa. It is not to Kṛṣṇa that you have to surrender, but it is within the unborn within Kṛṣṇa that you have to surrender. So these concocted ideas or these notions is not what has been mentioned here. We have to accept Kṛṣṇa to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that He's real, He's a person. He's not an impersonal entity, a vague idea, a vague conception, but He's actually the Supreme Lord, and He reveals Himself in the pages of the Bhagavad Gita, and here more specifically. Of course, the Jnanis, the Yogis, the Mayavadis, and Personalists have a very difficult time with this verse, because if God is absolute, if God is Brahman, why would He bother Himself to eat? He's absolute. And how could you satisfy Brahman with something material? Your fruit, your vegetables, your things, they're all just ordinary. But He's spiritual. So how can a spiritual being be satisfied with the material, mundane substance? So they have a lot of difficulties in understanding this particular verse. Just like in the Upanishad says, the Lord walks and does not walk. He's far away, but He's very near as well. This seems contradictory. How can He walk and not walk simultaneously? So their conception is that, well, this is just for our own mundane vision, because we have no perception of spiritual life, spiritual understanding, and therefore we give these metaphors or ideas something we can relate to, but it's really beyond our conception. For sure, Kṛṣṇa is a dokshaja, He is inconceivable, but He reveals Himself to those who are devotees, those who have faith in Him, those who accept Him. So the beginning of bhakti means at least we have to accept Kṛṣṇa to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then from that acceptance and believing that Kṛṣṇa is there, that He's a reality, that He has a form, that I have a form, I have a body, I have senses. Therefore, if Krishna is Bhagavan, he must also have these things. If I'm Anu, the smallest particle of God, and I have these things, then Bhagavan should have also these things. How can he be devoid? Otherwise, he's not complete. If we say God is everything, he's all-powerful, but he's devoid of senses, he's devoid of ability to do things, then it's very difficult. At the same time, we know when Kṛṣṇa was tied by Mother Yashoda, and Mother Yashoda was thinking, because the cowherd boys and even Balaram told Mother Yashoda that Kṛṣṇa's eaten dirt. So she was concerned, just like you have a child and he's eating dirt, you might get sick. So she told Kṛṣṇa, open your mouth, I want to see. Because all your friends are saying you ate earth. No, Mata, I didn't take any earth. Kṛṣṇa, as a child, was saying, no, I didn't eat anything. Well, even Balaram is saying that you've eaten earth. All your friends are saying. So you just open your mouth and let me see. So when Kṛṣṇa opened his mouth, she could see all the universes within his mouth. So that's pretty inconceivable. How can Kṛṣṇa be there as a small boy, but within his mouth the whole universe? Not just one universe, the whole Mahatattva was being manifested. So, in that sense, as a Dokchaja, Kṛṣṇa is very inconceivable. So if you understand that, you think, well, why would he need food? He's so unlimited, right? What he wants is our devotion. He doesn't need, as Prabhupada said, it's not that God, if we don't feed him, he'll starve. It's not like us. He doesn't need to eat. But he wants to eat because he wants to allow us to render service to him. That's the idea. Just like a child, the child depends on the parents. Sometimes the children will ask money from the parents because it's the parents' birthday or something, and he'll go and buy a gift. The child has no means. He's totally dependent on the parents. But it's the devotion that the parents enjoy, that this person is taking my money, and now he's going to offer something to me, but it's my own money. What's the point? Just like we take a little bit of Ganges water, Yamuna water, we offer it in devotion, and we put it back. What is the need? The Yamuna doesn't need our little bit of water in our conch shell, and we offer it. What's the point? It's the bhakti, it's the devotion. So Kṛṣṇa is allowing us to render service to him in this simple act. Otherwise, how are we going to show our devotion to Kṛṣṇa? There has to be a means to show that. When you love someone, you can't just say, I love you, but I never do anything for you. You have a friend, and he says, oh, you're my best friend, but whenever you ask him something, oh, I'm very busy, oh, I could do, but I have to go. You think, what kind of friend is this? Every time I ask him something, there's a reason why he can't render service. But he says he's my friend, but there's no service. So love means rendering service. If there's no service, there's no love. So if we say we love Kṛṣṇa, that has to be tangibly demonstrated. It's not just something mental or verbal, but it has to be shown. So here Kṛṣṇa is saying, if you want to show some devotion, take something, do something for me. Not just lip service, but do something. I remember, I think it was maybe in 76, when I was here, we had this one devotee, Vishal, and whenever Prabhupada would come out, of course in those days the samadhi wasn't there, there was just grass on each side in front of the Krishna Balaram Mandir, but Prabhupada would come out in the early morning to take his morning walk, and this devotee Vishal would always be saying and praying to Prabhupada that how much affection and love he had. So one morning Srila Prabhupada got a little annoyed. It was nice, okay, sentiment. Prabhupada said, why don't you do something? They had just finished, in the morning they cleaned the marble, so they, with the squeegee, but it was still wet. Prabhupada said, why don't you dry this, do something? So it was kind of funny. Prabhupada wanted, he didn't just want praise, he wanted something practical, So, yes, praising is nice, oh God, and so forth. But there has to be something more tangible and practical. And this is why Krishna comes in the form of the Murti, the deity. We don't have the eyes to see Krishna. Even Arjuna, Krishna gave him the divine eyes, then he saw the universal form. So we don't have that divine eyes, and Krishna comes and manifests himself in such a form that we can see him in the Archa Vigraha, the deity of the Lord. Manifests in the materials that we can perceive. But we should not think that because the Lord has come in the form of marble, that he's just ordinary, there's nothing there. No, Krishna is there. And he's allowing us through that form to render service. And therefore, and it's not for him, it's actually for our own benefit. Krishna says, ahaṁ bija pratakpita, that he is the father of all living entities. And if we contemplate a little bit, we realize that actually Krishna is doing so much more service to us than we're doing to him. Because all the things that we can offer, this leaf, this flower, fruit, water, who has produced these things? No human being has produced any of these things. The scientists, they say so much evolution and so forth, but they can't really prove this evolution theory. It's all nonsense. They cannot even produce one leaf. But they can rattle on, as we used to say, Dr. Frog, just croaking, inviting death. So this bhakti, this devotion means we have to actually have firm faith in Krishna, that he's actually there. And by different things, different ways, different means, we have to demonstrate that we want to render service to him. Why should we render service to Krishna? Well, one reason is that we're parts and parcel of Krishna. Jivera Sarupoy Nitya Krishna Das, we're the eternal servants of Krishna. If we don't serve Krishna, we'll have to serve something else or somebody else. Because in the material world, everyone is a servant. Everyone wants to serve. Here maybe not so much, but in the West, when people don't have anyone to serve, they get a dog and they get a cat, a pet to serve. Because that's the natural inclination. There's not one person. And when we meet each other, we often ask, so what are you doing now? If he's a young person, we'll say, oh, you're still at school? What are you studying? What degree? So what is that studying? Why is the person is studying? So later he can go to work. What is work? Service. We work, we render service. And if not, someone will say, oh, then what kind of job? What are you doing? We expect some people to do something. If he says, I do nothing, it's a deception. It's okay, unfortunate, this person doesn't do anything. What do you mean you don't do anything? You have to work. In the Gita, Arjuna didn't want to do anything. He didn't want to fight. He told Kṛṣṇa, I'll just go back to the forest. We've been there already 13 years, so we can just go back there. I don't want to, shanti, I don't want to fight. But Kṛṣṇa says, even in the forest, you're going to have to eat. You're going to have to breathe. You have to clean yourself. So many things you still have to do. So how much can you really renounce? So this idea that you can't do anything or you're not going to do anything is impossible. Everyone has to, impelled by the senses, by the desires. The desires will force us to do something. And therefore, simply abstaining, refraining from activity is not like the Buddhists. They try to just come to the stage of nirvana, non-existence. But that's impossible because existence is there. So Krishna told Arjuna that there's a way that you can act in such a way, in such a means, where you're not going to become implicated in the reactions, in the karma of good and bad. By offering things to me, then you won't get the reactions that the activity may cause. And we give the example just like a bank teller. A bank teller counts so much money. But if someone comes and robs the bank, that person is not disturbed because it's not his money. But if he takes one penny, one rupee, then he's immediately a thief. Then he can get arrested. So as long as he's counting the money and working on behalf of the bank, then there's no problem. But as soon as he tries taking. So devotee, he may use so many things, but he never forgets that it all belongs to Kṛṣṇa. Bhaktāram jagatapasam sarvalokai maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam kyadvamam shantim rijati. Bhaktāram jagatapasam, he is the supreme who owns everything. But he allows us to use things, but we have to know how to use these things. If we don't know how to use them, we become implicated in material activity. So by offering them to Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa creates everything, becomes spiritualized, and therefore, in that spiritual sense, not only that we don't get karmic reaction, but by offering these things to Kṛṣṇa, we make spiritual advancement. So it's not just a neutral situation where I don't become implicated, but I actually benefit from that activity, because that will help me, will assist me in promoting myself in advancement in spiritual life. Because the goal is to become Kṛṣṇa conscious. So when I do these things in relation to Kṛṣṇa, it will remind me that I'm actually a devotee of Kṛṣṇa, that I'm meant to be with Kṛṣṇa, and ultimately I will go to Kṛṣṇa. So it's very beneficial to do these particular things. Of course, it requires, as I mentioned, to accept Kṛṣṇa, to have faith in Kṛṣṇa, and to want to be with Kṛṣṇa, to actually want love, to have love for Kṛṣṇa. And the beginning of this chapter, I think, Kṛṣṇa says to Arjuna, that idam tute kuyatamam prayaccati anusuyave jnanam vairagyam sahitam yajgadva muchase sutta. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, because you're never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, know which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. So this is another qualification that is required, that we should not be envious of Kṛṣṇa. Many people, there are many Bhagavad Gitas that have been written, but for the most part they're all envious of Kṛṣṇa. Srila Prabhupada was unique in the sense that he presented Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, practically in every page. Srila Prabhupada was not hiding Kṛṣṇa, he was revealing Kṛṣṇa. But so many are hiding Kṛṣṇa. Oh, it is not to Kṛṣṇa, it is to this, it is to that. So many speculative ideas. And when Srila Prabhupada came in the West, we were Christians, we had some vague idea of God, but it was not an idea or an understanding that Srila Prabhupada was coming and revealing to us. And even if we had some vague idea, there was no real, outside of praying to God, please God give us our daily bread, there was no understanding that we should be serving Kṛṣṇa, that we should be serving God. There was a notion that, okay, God's the Father, and as a Father, He's supposed to supply the Son. So the relationship, I'm asking and you're giving, boss. Prabhupada was the one who revealed to us that we should be rendering service to Kṛṣṇa. Why? Because we're parts and parcel of Kṛṣṇa. Just like the hand is serving the body. The hand is part of the body. Now if I cut the hand, that's it. The hand has no value. It's only when the hand is connected to the rest of the body does it have value. And if we give to the stomach, if I eat, I try to eat with my hand separate from the rest of the body, then there's really no nourishment. The process is to take it and offer it to the stomach. Then the whole body can be nourished. So Kṛṣṇa is karana-karanam, He's the cause of all causes, He's the root of everything. Ishvara Parama Kṛṣṇa Sachitananda Vigraha Anadi Radya Govindam Sarva Karana-karanam. He's the karana-karanam, the cause of everything, the root of everything. So often when you look at a tree, you see the trunk, the leaves, but the root is buried in the ground. You don't necessarily see the roots. But without the root, the whole tree will die. If you just water the leaves and the branches and forget the root, the tree will die. So similarly, we may not always see Kṛṣṇa. It may seems that we're the doers. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karma sarvasaha ahaṁkara vimudatma karta iti manyate. That we think we're the doers. I will do this, I will do that. But ultimately, behind all that is Kṛṣṇa sanctioning everything. Otherwise, there's no possibility of us doing anything. So when one understands this, and he's not envious of Kṛṣṇa, this is another qualification of bhakti, devotion. That has to be that I'm not envious of Kṛṣṇa, I'm not jealous of Kṛṣṇa, but I'm very favorable. Just like Kamsa. Kamsa was always thinking of Kṛṣṇa. As soon as he heard the voice in the sky when his sister Devaki was getting married, he heard a voice that, Kamsa, you're such a fool that you're driving your chariot, the chariot of your sister and your brother-in-law, Vasudev, but you don't know that the 8th child of your sister will kill you. So when Kamsa heard that, he was always thinking of when will Kṛṣṇa come? When will he come and kill me? So he was always thinking of Kṛṣṇa, but he was not favorable. It was just like when you hate someone, you're always thinking of that person to get revenge. Okay, how am I going to get even with that person? So you're observing the person and seeing, okay, what is his weak point? How am I going to attack that person? How am I going to criticize or destroy this person? But it's not favorable. But it's a very intense emotion. When you feel that someone's pained you or hurt you or did something and you want revenge, it's a very powerful emotion. So Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion, he gives that example of Kamsa, who was very adamantly thinking of Kṛṣṇa, but not favorably. So we want that intensity, that capacity to be thinking of Kṛṣṇa, but favorably, not out of envy of Kṛṣṇa, but in a very favorable, loving way. And when we contemplate what Kṛṣṇa has done for us, what is made for us, how he's always serving us, how he's so loyal to us, because for many, we don't even know when we entered the material world, how long we've been here, how long we've forgotten Kṛṣṇa. But Kṛṣṇa has never forgotten us. He's always there in the heart as Antayami, super soul, witnessing all our activities and fulfilling our desires. We have these particular bodies born in certain places. Why? Because we had desires. Guna karma. Based on our activities and our desires, we've taken birth in a certain way. Place. And if you look, the beautiful trees that Kṛṣṇa has produced, here we talk about fruits and flowers. There's so many varieties of beautiful fruit. And if you examine these kind of fruits and things, and if you look a little bit, just by looking at a fruit, an orange, you can become Kṛṣṇa conscious. You can be so amazed that the Kṛṣṇa has produced the peel, orange color, so attractive. The nice juice when you eat a nice orange. The vitamins that is there for us, why is it all there? That fruit doesn't need it. The tree could have just produced seeds and just throw the seeds and be able to reproduce itself. What does it need the whole orange or the whole apple or the whole banana? It doesn't require these things. And why should there be vitamins in these things that we need? The tree doesn't need that. But Kṛṣṇa has made all these things and very colorful, so that we can have some appetite. When you look at a nice, wonderful salad, fruit salad with so many nice colors, grapes and orange, and it is so appealing. So this is Kṛṣṇa who's done this for us. Not by chance, like these rascal scientists, that all came by chance. No, Kṛṣṇa has made these things for us. So when we think of these things, then we become so much in favor, so much in love with Kṛṣṇa, that look how extraordinary Kṛṣṇa is. How he's, just like the taste, rasoham apsikuntaya, the taste of water. Why by drinking water it is so satisfying? When we're very thirsty, especially it's going to start getting hotter and hotter here in India, we'll want to drink some wonderful water. But who has produced that water? Now they're saying, oh, global warming and overeat, and there'll be less water in the planet and so forth. So you're a big scientist, why don't you put a little bit of water, make it? No, they can't. They can talk, but they can't produce anything. And many fools and rascals, unfortunately, have followed these idiots, scientists. But we're not such fools. We have dedicated ourselves to Kṛṣṇa. We're trying to develop that love for Kṛṣṇa. And therefore, to develop that bhakti, Lord Chaitanya said that Chaitodharmana Marjanam, that by the chanting of the holy name, this is the cleansing process. Because it is Golokera Pramadan Harinam Sankirtan. This holy name of Kṛṣṇa is not different from Kṛṣṇa. It's coming directly from Golok Vrindavan. And by chanting the name of Kṛṣṇa, we're associating with Kṛṣṇa. By association with Kṛṣṇa, we'll become purified. Just like if you associate with someone who's sick, disease, you'll get sick. And if you associate with healthy people or honest person, then you'll become honest or healthy. So by associating with Kṛṣṇa, again, it's not that Kṛṣṇa needs us to be chanting his names. He's not a politician that needs to be voted in his position. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We may accept or not accept. That doesn't change anything to Kṛṣṇa. But if we accept Kṛṣṇa, then we'll benefit. If we chant his name, we'll benefit. So the whole thing, actually, Kṛṣṇa comes and reveals himself for our own benefit. We are in the material world. We are the ones suffering the different kleshas, adidevik, adibautik, adiyatmik. Abrahma bhuvanaloka punaravartinorjuna mamupete tu konteya punarjanmana vidyate. That even up to Brahmaloka, they're suffering misery. So, if we want to get away from this misery, we have to become Kṛṣṇa conscious. We have to offer our devotion to Kṛṣṇa. And by doing this, we can change the material world into the spiritual world. And we saw that with Srila Prabhupada. He came to New York, especially in the Bowery, where he was, a bunch of drunkards and low-class area of New York, but he was able to transform that place. Srila Prabhupada was a walking tirtha. Everywhere he went, he purified. People come and they bathe in the Yamuna and they leave all their sins. When sadhus bathe there, they take the sins, they purify. So Prabhupada, everywhere he went, he purified. And he was so convincing, he was so powerful in his preaching, that he was able to change our mindset, our conditioning, our Western mentality. We say America is great, India is a third world country, this kind of nonsense is there. But Srila Prabhupada came, and by preaching Kṛṣṇa consciousness in a very powerful way, in a very philosophical way, he was able to convince us that Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by his conviction, we became convinced. And we've been able to take it up and accept Kṛṣṇa. And Kṛṣṇa is not a Hindu god. We shouldn't think, oh yeah, Kṛṣṇa is a Hindu god. No, he's not a Hindu god. Kṛṣṇa is God for everyone. He's the Supreme Absolute, the reservoir of pleasure. If we want pleasure, we have to go to the source, and that source of pleasure is Kṛṣṇa. So, as I was mentioning, if you read Bhagavad Gita as it is, on every page, Prabhupada is talking about Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, it is to our fortune, it is to our benefit, and not too long ago, I was offering obeisances to my deities at home, And I was getting a very strong realization how fortunate I was that in this life, at least, I could offer obeisances to Kṛṣṇa. I can do dandavats to Kṛṣṇa. Because this is something I was not able to do for millions of lifetimes. I didn't have that shraddha, that faith or that understanding, that jnana, that Kṛṣṇa is my Lord. So I was offering obeisances and I was considering myself so fortunate that at least in this lifetime I can do this. That Kṛṣṇa has privileged me in such a way that now I have the proper understanding and I have a desire. And Arjuna, after seeing the universal form, that's what he tells Kṛṣṇa, that I'm prepared to bow down thousands of times. And he questions why others aren't doing that. How come not everyone's doing that? Everyone should do that, should be bowing down to you. That's his questioning. Sometimes, of course, here in India, everyone's more or less devotee. In the West, it's a different situation. But us as devotees, we sometimes wonder, why not everybody's bowing down to you, Kṛṣṇa? How come not everyone's coming to the temple? You're here, you've made your presence. But because people are very unfortunate. Manda sumanda matayo manda bhakti-upahṛtam. People are very fortunate, they're lazy, they're misguided. So, our business is not just to offer leaves and flowers to Kṛṣṇa and fruit, that's very nice. But our business as Vaishnavas also should be to try to encourage others to understand Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa's words, and try to inspire others, to convince others, to be able to convince them and defeat their nonsense argument, their mayavad, a misunderstanding, but with kindness, with compassion, that, oh, these people are so unfortunate. If only they could understand Kṛṣṇa, if they only knew Kṛṣṇa, they would naturally want to render service to Kṛṣṇa. They would want to, because we all want to serve, but who should we serve? Who should we be giving our love and affection to? Only Kṛṣṇa deserves that. Bhakti is not something you can offer even to Shiva, Ganesh. This bhakti is limited to Kṛṣṇa only. Devotion, and when we speak of bhakti, it means to Kṛṣṇa, no one else. Because even the demigods like Lord Shiva, Ganesh, they're also all Kṛṣṇa Bhakta ultimately. And Kṛṣṇa in the Gita says that only those who worship the demigods are fools. Because what the demigods can offer is very limited. They cannot give the real result, the real thing. So, if we have material desires, akama savrakamo va, moksha kama udariti, tivrina bhakti yagina, yajeta puruṣam param. That if we have full of desires, no desires are seeking liberation, still we should worship Kṛṣṇa. Just like Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj wanted to, after being insulted by his stepmother, then he wanted a kingdom better than Lord Brahma. But when he finally, after doing so much tapasya and so forth, even Narada Muni came to him and told him, you're just a young boy, you're in this big forest, you should go back home. And Dhruva told him no. He respected Narada, but he told him, if you cannot guide me, if you cannot inspire me towards Kṛṣṇa, then please go away. So then Narada Muni gave him the mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And Dhruva Maharaj, within 6 months, realized Kṛṣṇa. But when Kṛṣṇa appeared, he realized that he was just looking for broken glass. Now he had seen a real diamond. And he very much regretted it. But the Bhagavatam describes that Dhruva Maharaj, although he initially had the material desire, still he was purified. Ajamil was a Brahmin. He fell down, a prostitute. But he had one son named Narayan. So on his deathbed, when he was dying, he was very attached to his young son, so he was singing and thinking of his son, Narayan, Narayan. And then the Vishnudutas came. And there's a big debate between the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas, but finally, ultimately, he attained perfection, because even though he was not directly thinking of Narayan, but because he was chanting Narayan's name, he got some benefit from that. So Krishna consciousness is Madhuram Madhuram. It is the most auspicious thing. Just like when you eat candy, if you have some candy, you take it this side or in the middle, it's all sweet. So Krishna consciousness is all auspicious. Even if one has material desires, even though like Kumja, she had lusty desires, but Krishna satisfied her and purified her. So there are many examples in the Bhagavatam. It's not that everyone was pure. They had motivation, karma mishra bhakti, jnana mishra bhakti, no bhakti at all. But because they approached Krishna, they all became purified. So if we approach Krishna, we may not have pure bhakti, but gradually we're taking to the process, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Paranam, Achanam, Atmanivedanam. Ultimately, we'll come to the stage of Atmanivedanam, being able to fully surrender to Krishna. So we have to question ourselves, what is preventing me from fully surrendering to Krishna? Just like if I put my foot on the ground, how much pressure am I prepared to put if I don't know, if I don't feel this ground is solid, if I think I may go through, then I won't put all my weight. But if I feel that this is very solid, then I can lift the other foot, and even though in the process of moving forward, all my weight is on one foot, I feel secure. But if I don't think it's very solid, if it's on ice or something and I think I'll go through, I'll be very afraid to lift my foot, to step further. So, what is inhibiting us? What is preventing us from pulling our full faith in Krishna, our full weight, our full determination? That we have to question. What is my attachment? What is my fear? What is my reservation? Because Krishna says, Sarvanam Parijaja Mamikam Saranam Vraja, that you give up all dharma, give up everything and just surrender to me. And therefore, as Gaudiya Vaishnava, we worship the gopis because they're the emblem, they're the manifestation of full surrender to Krishna. They gave up everything in the middle of the night when they heard Krishna's flute. They ran to Krishna. And Krishna mockingly said, what are you doing here? Don't you know? It's night time, you're a young woman. If you go back, you'll be rejected by your family. They'll question why you came out in the middle of the night, who you're seeing. You're not being chased to your husband, your family. But they had none of these considerations. They gave up everything. And Krishna said that your devotion is such that I cannot repay you. I will remain totally indebted to you. Just see how kind Krishna is. He feels indebted towards his own devotee. So this is the position we are trying to attain. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, don't try to see God, but do something by which God will want to see you. So that should be our particular desire. So I'll stop here. Some of you have some questions. No questions, so you're very convinced. So thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.